Hey there, everybody. Welcome back. Hey, Kate.
Hey.
I'm joined once again by our fabulous head coach, Kate Zitars. And today we are going to talk about a topic that we really want to make sure that you copywriters know, especially you new copywriters, and that is the number one spec ad mistake that new copywriters make. So, Kate, can you take us quickly through what a spec ad actually is for those listeners who don't know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Spec ad. So when you're first starting out, you need to prove that you can write copy. And so one of the ways to do that is to create a spec ad, which is essentially a fake ad, an ad that, it can be any medium that you want it to be, for any company you want it to be. It can be for a made up company. It can be for a real company. And you go through the same process that you would with an actual project, write the creative brief, and make sure you're sticking to it. And then that way you can show it in your portfolio and put it in your portfolio, labeling it as spec ad and say, this was a project for Build-A-Bear workshop. That's what we're coming up with today.
That's a
Build-A-Bear
valid choice. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're, writing this email because there's a special on Build-A-Bears. You buy one, get one. This was the challenge. Here's how I went about solving it. And you can really show your process just as you would with an actual project. And so with a spec ad, one of the great things you can do too is, if you have an actual idea for a company or something that you want to create, that's one way to do it and to show how you're thinking and show your process. Yeah. Did I miss anything on that?
No, I think that was great.
Yeah.
And as Kate said, I do want to emphasize that in your portfolio, you will mark it as spec. You're not trying to trick
Yep.
anybody into thinking that you were hired by these companies that you weren't hired by. And when companies see spec pieces in your portfolio, they also don't hold it against you. No company is going, oh, well, Build-A-Bear didn't really hire them. All
Right.
they're looking for in those spec pieces is to see that, first of all, that you are good at writing copy. And second of all, well, okay, so three things actually. First, that you're good at writing copy. Second, that they can get some understanding of the process, how you think, how you strategize. And the third point is actually what we are talking about in today's episode, because it's the third point that a lot of new copywriters either want to skip or try to skip. And what is that third point, Kate?
It is working with a designer and not
Mhm.
designing the ads yourself.
Yes. When you are a working copywriter, you're not going to be designing anything. And quite frankly, you probably shouldn't be. The vast, vast majority of people are either verbally gifted or visually gifted. So they're either really great at coming up with copy or really, I mean, not really great, you know what I mean? But people are going to tend to be either good at coming up with copy or good at being a designer if they're creative. Um,
They're two both valid careers and takes a lot of time to learn both. And so I think a lot of people, a big mistake is spreading yourself too thin right from the beginning and say, I'm going to do it all. I'm going to be one-stop shop. I'm going to design and I'm going to write copy versus really honing in and becoming an expert at copywriting before kind of deciding whether it makes sense to branch out or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what your portfolio demonstrates is that you are able to collaborate with designers because in the real world, when you're out there working, you're not going to be designing for yourself. You're either going to be literally collaborating with a designer, sharing something on screen and suggesting tweaks each of you can make, or, which I'm finding happening more and more often, you send your copy through to your client and your client sends it to their designer, but it's not going to be you that's doing the design. So you don't want to have pieces in your portfolio that show you as the designer because that's not how it is in real life. And also too, because we are not gifted designers, we're not professional designers, what ends up happening is that you put together a piece that looks subpar. And what we put on our portfolio sites is really our best foot forward. So if you're putting things on your site that actually don't look that good, someone coming to your site is going to assume that you can't tell the difference between creative that looks good and creative that doesn't look good. And that's not the impression that you want to send.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing as copywriters, we don't need to be good at design, but we need to know, people need to know that we know the difference between what is an effective design and what isn't. And as you said, it's very clear when you've designed something yourself.
It is. And, and as much as like sites like Canva make it seem like it's really easy and you can just put it all in a template. Well, here's the thing. As we know with writing, templates don't work with writing because the messages need to be changed and they need to be rearranged by a professional like us. The same thing works for, a template might work for if you're putting up a poster for a rec center. Then yeah, you can probably swap out a headline. But for a professional ad, you would no company would ever use a template from Canva to create a professional ad. And so when you as a copywriter are trying to skip that step of finding a designer and trying to use Canva or trying to do something like that, what you end up with is something that just doesn't put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and it doesn't communicate the copy in the way that you want it to be communicated. I think one of the biggest things I see is it's unclear what's the headline, which line is intended to be the focus, what line is intended to be the body copy, where's the call to action. It can get lost when you don't know where to put these elements within
because
design.
You're not a designer.
Yeah, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
That's why we put it in a copy doc and label it. This is what I want as my headline. This is what I think should be the most important piece of information that people get. And if there's a subhead or whether or not you use one or body copy, here's what each element is intended to be, and let your designer take that over and work with them. To the other thing, and I think the important thing, as you said, it shows you can collaborate. And one of the things when you collaborate is you realize, ooh, in layout, maybe this headline would work a lot better with one less word. Or, hey, is there any way that you can come up with a subhead? Because I think in design, this would look better if we could break up this body copy and make it, look a little bit better or whatever it is. And so that shows then that how to refine and edit your copy to work within a design so that the whole thing looks better. Because it's one thing for us to write something and say, oh, this is it. And in a Word doc, it feels and looks great. But it has to work within whatever layout it's going into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and on top of all of this, on top of you ending up with really gorgeous spec ads because you've worked with an actual designer, there's one more point that is something that I think people easily overlook. When you are working with designers for your spec ad, you are also simultaneously building your network of designers. And what that means is in the future, when you are writing for clients and a client says to you, hey, I have this project and, oh yeah, I'd love to have you write that. Oh, but I don't have a designer. Do you know anybody? You can say, yes, I actually do. I have several. Let me see if either of those are available. Several either. Let me see if any of them are available. And on the other side, when you have a network of designers, there are also designers who are pitching themselves for projects. And they have potential clients who are saying, yeah, I really want you to design this for me, but I don't have a copywriter. Do you know anyone? The designers in your network are going, oh, yeah, I do. Let me go see if she's available. So you are increasing the chances of getting work in without you even really having to do much.
Yeah. And I will say too, that the end product not only looks better, as you said, but the whole concept is often better and stronger. I love just as much as the next writer to go off into my little corner office here and write my copy and kind of be on my own to think, which is great. And that's, depending on how you work, that's often how I kind of do my best brainstorming before I get with someone else and can then bounce ideas off of it. But as soon as you are collaborating with one or, whether it's in a presentation with the client as well, everything is going to be pushed to get it to a better place, to get it to a stronger place than it was. And then that frankly, any of us could do on our own.
Yeah. Okay. So now I'm reading people's minds, even though we're recording it before they're listening to it. I'm reading people's minds, and there are at least a couple people out there going, well, but I don't want to have to pay a designer. This is going to be so expensive if I have to pay a designer for spec ads. What do we have to say to that?
You don't have to pay a designer. Please do not.
Don't pay a designer.
There's literally no cost, as we say, besides the cost of your portfolio and your website and the URL.
Yeah.
There's no cost that you should be putting out of pocket.
But at the same time, we are not saying scam designers. You're not
Right.
trying to get
Yes.
them to
Yes.
work
Yes.
for free. That's not what this is about. What you are looking for is you're looking for designers who are the same level of experience you are, who are also trying to build their portfolios. There are designers out there who are like, oh, okay, well, I need to build my portfolio. I need to put some pieces in there, and who also need good copy. So what you are looking for is designers that you can work with who need pieces who need portfolio pieces, need spec pieces, and need copy, because you are a copywriter who needs spec portfolio pieces and need design. So the two of you are coming together to benefit each other. And
Mm-hmm.
as you're talking to designers, you are explaining to them, you're not asking them to work for free by any means, in the way that you're not working for free. You are getting something out of it, and they are getting something out of it. You're both getting pieces for your portfolio, which is one of the reasons why sometimes people will say, well, I reached out to this designer and they were like, well, no, I'm not going to work with you. And okay, if that designer was even a mid-level or senior level designer, of course they're not going to work with you because they don't need pieces for their portfolio. They might be good to have in your network for later on, but if you're going to pitch this as a project to a designer, you need to make sure that it will benefit them. Otherwise, they have no reason to work with you. So you're looking for designers who are also looking to build their portfolio site. Nobody's working for free, not them, not you. You are bartering your services with each other so that you both come away with really great spec pieces. Thanks for watching. Make sure you don't miss any tips, tools, or tactics for copywriters by clicking subscribe right now. And of course, you can always find us over at filthyricwriter.com. We'll see you next time.